If they asked me, I could write a book about the way you walk and whisper and look.
Joining us now, great to welcome, and you've seen him on television on the HGTV series, Extreme Small Spaces and Tiny House Builders. He's got a book out. It's called Microshelters, 59 Creative Cabins, Tiny Houses, Tree Houses, and Other Small Structures. Really interesting topic. We're going to find all about it. We're joined today by Deek Diedricksen on the telephone. And Deek, good to talk with you. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to have a chance to chat with you. I've heard of this kind of craze in the last couple of months. I didn't realize it was becoming as popular as it is now, these micro-shelters. I saw a couple of pieces on TV about it, so I guess this has really taken off, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not unbelievable. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but with the immediacy of the Internet as of recently and all the cool photos you see on Pinterest, information and inspiration and stuff, just travels fast. News travels fast, as they say.
Did this begin in any particular area of the country? I thought it maybe started out west, but I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been around for quite some time. I mean, even the book that kind of got me into it and started things off was from '86, as Tiny Houses by Les Walker. Yeah, so there's been books, but there weren't many, but there were some books back then. Another one in the '70s was Renegade Houses, which kind of touched upon building small and kind of on the lam. But yeah, the West Coast is certainly more progressive, so you're seeing more hotbed and pockets of activity out there in Portland, the Seattle area, Southern California. But out on the East Coast, more so Asheville, North Carolina is huge for it. Up in Vermont, some of those areas you're seeing. But Vermont's very unpopulated, generally speaking, but you're seeing a lot of pockets of tiny house activity, micro-shelters, cabins, all that.
You know, the comedy show Portlandia did a piece on it, so that
yeah, and also that show, the Modern Family, had a thing where they worked in a tiny house kind of spoof at one point. Like, it's crazy.
Now, these are actual places where people are planning to live in. It's not just like a shed in the backyard, right? I mean, these are actual homes that people could stay in. Is that the plan, or is that the idea?
With the book Microshelters, it's eclectic, so it's covering kind of my ADD interest in just all things tiny, from tiny houses, tree houses, cabins, you name it, backyard offices. But yeah, there's a ton of them out there, the tiny houses. The intent is for them to be lived in full time, and people have been doing it for a long time. With kids too, with spouses, it's doable.
Yeah, I saw a piece, might have been on one of the Sunday morning news shows. I think they took a tour of a few of them, and a couple was living in it, and it looked like a kind of a two-level thing. I would imagine it'd be a little difficult to have more than two people living in something like that, but I guess people are doing that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's, of course, as a lot of the people you see now, their kids are young, or there's even some where they have a tiny house for themselves, and then when the kids, they get older, they have their own tiny house. That's one way to solve it, I suppose, and they're still both mobile, and if you want to sell them later, geographically, you're not bound, they're on wheels. They can be, like Domino's, you can deliver them. But, yeah, when you have, most people I know have young kids who aren't as mobile yet and not raising heck just yet. When they're 15 and you're trying to live in 200 square feet, it might be a different story. But those are some of the challenges that are yet to come. We'll see. For some, it's been a long-term living solution. For others, it's just going to be transient, temporary living while trying to afford to move somewhere else. I think there's all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, and in the book you give different patterns and plans to build these. I guess most of the people that live in them build them themselves, or they're companies now that'll build it for you.
Oh yeah, there's a zillion companies out there who will build them for you, because people these days work 19 jobs to make a living. So by potentially living tiny, you could not have to work 19 jobs, maybe 16 instead. You're saving money, but the catch-22 is you got to have some money to pay someone to build one for you if you don't have the time. A lot of people want to build them themselves if they have the luxury of time, but time is money, and it's certainly a big project, but it's been done by so many people because they want to get back to using their hands, wielding tools, and this technologically advanced computerized age, because it's lacking. And the bragging rights of building your own home, custom designed for your needs, that's huge. You can't trump that at any party. Yeah, I built my own house, designed it myself. What comes next? How do you one-up someone who can say that?
That's right. Now, the cost, I guess, varies a little bit, but what would say the minimum be? 10,000, or can you do it for less?
Yeah, there's some done for 10,000. I've seen it done for less, and it depends how fancy you want to get. There's some houses out there that are extremely high-end and fancy for those looking to go small for the cute factor, but not ready to downsize so much and give up some of the amenities. There's some wildly creative and beautiful tiny homes. And there's kind of the middle-of-the-road prices. A buddy of mine, Tennessee Tiny Homes, Joe Everson and his wife, they've built like 40 houses for clients, and they're pretty reasonable. There's quite a few of them out there. It's like, I can't list them all. Like, it seems every week there's a new tiny house building company.
I'm just looking at a couple in the book now. The Rock Bottom, I guess that might be one that would be the least expensive. You have a one from you built in Vermont, 64 square feet. It looks pretty nice. I mean, looks comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, we were actually just up there 2 days ago for a workshop. We do these hands-on workshops through RelaxShacks.com. It's my site. We had 50 people up there building from Mexico, Venezuela, Scotland, and those are little like seasonal camp shelters or cabins that people stay in while we camp out for 3-4 days and teach them building skills. And we built a tree house. We built a tiny house on wheels. We built a funky Doctor Who looking, phone booth outhouse thing. We built another like tiki hut looking cabin too, all as a group. 50 of us split up in groups. So, the one you see there, that Rock Bottom, is more a seasonal cabin, but that was done for $300.
Wow, great. I know another one you talk about, kind of the wild looking ones, the Owl House. I like that. It looks like a big owl looking at you, right? The windows look like eyes.
Yeah, that's in the UK. That is funky and as hippied out as they come, and that's why I liked it. It was just so daring and bizarre. It has a giant circular window that does look like a huge owl eye.
Now, people that decide to do this, I guess primarily I would say these are younger couples, younger people. I would imagine retirees are doing it, or am I wrong about that?
No, retirees, no, you're correct. A lot of retirees, the kind of empty nesters, are like, I don't need all the space anymore. I want to save my money, or I'm going to fix income. Why not save more money and travel more and have extra income, disposable income to eat out and enjoy my golden years, to live in a tinier house? I don't need the space. A lot of houses now, you have these empty rooms that you're paying for tax-wise and heating all the time, but there's nothing in them. So people are realizing that. But a lot of young people do, straight out of college. They don't have a lot of money. They don't want to rent because you're throwing your money in a hole. They don't want to buy a house because it's a 30-year mortgage that's on top of their college payments. So as time and money allows, why not build a tiny house, which you could, down the road, sell if it wasn't working for you? And, again, you're not geographically bound when you sell it. I live in the Boston area. If I wanted to sell something, recently I sold a little tiny house I built on wheels. The person who bought it was in Pennsylvania. Not super close, but it's on wheels, so we could move it from one place to the other. You can't do that with a normal home as easily.
No. Now, can you build these? Say you want to, build a tiny house, micro shelter for yourself, or you deal with zoning at all? I mean, can most neighborhoods do they allow this, or do you have to kind of go in land where it's kind of open spaces?
It's town by town. There's a huge faction of people that are going with the renegade approach. They're doing the backyard living. If you're nice, if you leave your neighbors alone, they'll leave you alone. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who've done it legally in certain areas by working with their town hall and the building inspector and zoning, so it can be done. There's cities who are starting to allow more of that, like Seattle's one of them that's at the forefront. The Portland area, they're great. These progressive cities. And there's people who just have their tiny houses and wheels and kind of get away with it under the radar, and other areas of the country where you can do anything you want still. They just want to know when you're done building whatever, when you're done, so they can come out, measure it, and tax you on it, because that's all it kind of comes down to in some areas. So quite a few options.
How about hooking up to the grid, the electric company? I guess you don't need phone company anymore, but water and all that kind of thing. Is that easy to do with these?
Yeah, again, lots of options, more than you would think. When it comes to waste disposal, there's people who do it RV style in tanks. There's people who have their own self-built gray water disposal systems. There's composting toilets, macerating toilets, incinerating toilets. Some people, depending where you are, still use outhouses. The majority of the world actually still uses outhouses. Of course, counting third world countries. In terms of water, people either have rain catchment systems. Some people are so downsized and bare bones, they actually haul their own water in, which forces them to conserve. They want that approach because they realize how wasteful they are. And there's other people just tap into the regular city supply or piggyback off another adjacent building for water. So there's like 4 or 5 options for each, especially when it comes to heat, all that stuff too. There's so many options.
It's fascinating to look at, and more people, like you say, are doing this, and the book gives you some plans if you're deciding to do it yourself or in the future. It's called Microshelters. We're talking with Deek Diedricksen today, creator of RelaxShacks.com. Do you have a website other than that you want to give out for the book, or is that the best one?
No, there's that, and there's my YouTube channel, which is also RelaxShacks.com, but instead of the period, it's spelled out DOT.com, and there's 230-something tiny house tours from around the U.S. and beyond on there that we've shot.
Great. Deek, pleasure talking to you. Great idea for the book, and look forward to talking to you again. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much. Have a good one.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or Doug Miles Media.